Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, let's start.
So, good morning, everybody. I am Noemi Marzicano. I'm 16 and live in Rome. This is the presentation of the Italian team, and I'll be the first one talking. So,
Ok.
Ma la penso va bene perché qui ti sta, è proprio la presentazione. Quindi non ci abbiamo altro. Sì, è partita la registrazione.
okay. So, my topic is the Europe before the European Union, and then the other topics are the main objectives of European Union structure, vote him, the main European Union regulations on ecology, environment, and COVID-19, the role of Italy in the European community. So, and as I said before, I'll be talking to you about the Europe before the European Union. So this topic has been extended by Emanuele Boccella, Noemi Marzicano, which is me, Alessandro Deida, and Giulia Picellini, and the teachers are Ponzio and De Carpisiglia. So let's start. So let's start from the origins. It was August 1945 when the Second World War just ended. During this long period of war, enormous atrocities had been committed and millions of people had lost their lives because of them. So to prevent these events from happening again, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, and Luxembourg began to think about creating a real European community to guarantee lasting peace. So, on the 9th of May 1950, the seeds for the creation of the European Union were laid. So, the most important steps that led to the formation of the European Union are the birth of the European Coalescing Community, ECSC, the Messina Agreements and Rome Treaties, but we'll talk about these events later. So, the first documents for the promotion of the Union of European countries is the Ventotene Manifesto, which has been written by Altiero Spinelli. When the European Coalescing Community was first established, there were only 6 countries, which were the ones that I told you before, while now the European Union counts 27 members after the Brexit of this year. And the 9th of May is considered the birth of the European Union. So, in the summer of 1941, Altiero Spinelli, which is a man, wrote the Ventotene Manifesto together with Ernesto Rossi and Gianni Bologna. This manifesto is in favor of the creation of a European political body. So, the manifesto was written on the island of Ventotene, and we can see a picture of this island. These men had been confined by the fascist regime in the island. And in the manifesto, there is a concrete project of political action. So they wanted to create a movement that would put together all the forces to give birth to a new organism, which had to be a federation of all the United States of Europe, with a joint parliament and a democratic government. So the project wasn't to renew the pre-Nazi Europe, but just to build another one which had to be better. So you can yes.
Se preferisci togli la mascherina. Ok.
So thanks to Altiero Spinelli's idea, this federalist movement laid to the foundation of the European Union, so we can understand how much this idea helped, because this movement helped to the creation of the cultural and political ground that then laid to the foundation of the European Union. And here we can find a short interview of Spinelli. And we can see it. Yes.
We want to see it now or not?
I think we don't have time.
So maybe
Yeah.
You can
see.
say you can follow this interview at this link.
Yes.
Okay.
This is an interview of Spinelli. Okay.
In a
yes.
different moment.
So, in addition to Altiero Spinelli, other men were really important to the process that led to the birth of the European Union, such as Robert Schuman. He was the French foreign minister of that time, and he was fundamental because thanks to him, the ECSC and then the European Union were born. Because on the 9th of May 1950, he issued a declaration in which he proposed the creation of a European coal and steel community whose members would share coal and steel production, because it was fundamental to prevent a new world conflict like the Second World War that ended just 5 years earlier. Yes. Yes. So between the 1st and the 3rd of June 1955, a really important conference regarding European Union history took place in Messina. The location was chosen by the Italian foreign minister of that time, who is named Gaetano Martino, since he was born in Messina. So the participants of this conference were the 6 nations that we said before, which are Italy, France, West Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Belgium. So the purpose of this meeting was to decide which had to be the destiny of this union, whether it was going to be just a basic custom union or something deeper, more structured and complex, in which each member was going to be fully integrated culturally, politically, and socially. So you can go. In this conference, they reached a compromise which provided the birth of 2 new distinct organisms that were parallel to the ECSC. So they created the European Atomic Energy Community, which is often called Euratom, which still exists nowadays and that deals with the development of nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. In fact, the 6 ministers of the countries had understood that to prevent a new world conflict, they had to put in common economical interest to develop nuclear energy. So they also established a single market, which exists nowadays, aimed at foresting the circulation of workers and products in the European soil. In fact, they were determined to restore Europe's influence and to make sure that Europe maintained its position in the world. And also, they wanted to raise progressively the standard of living of its population. Okay. So, on the 25th of March 1957, Rome treaties were signed in the capital. We can see a picture of Capitol, which in Italian is called Campidoglio. It's one of the 7 hills in which Rome was initially founded. So the treaties were signed there. And these deals, following the Treaty of Paris 1951 and the Conference of Messina, represented the moment in which both Euratom and I.I.S, which is the European Economic Community, were designed. So the aims of the I.I.S, EEC were defined were first defined in the Conference of Messina, and the aim was to create a corporation, a community in which each country had to be fully integrated. So other aims of the treaty were also to define the framework of the legislative activity of the members, to give the guidelines to establish a unitary custom tariff, to have common policy in agriculture and transport sectors, to create a European social fund, which still exists, to set up an European bank, to develop the cooperation between the members. And actually, on the 2 euros coin, there is a representation of the sign up of these treaties. We can still see it. So, but let's move a step back and let's see what was going on in Italy in 1957. So, in that year, the first supermarket opened in Italy, and this is an American model that we took, because in Italian didn't exist something like that. There were like the little shops, family run, and it still exists nowadays. It's called S lunga, which in English means long S, because the architect that designed the logo, as we can see, made a big S, um, which overcomes the other letters. So, and in the same year, after the 600 Fiat, la Fiat 500, also the 500 Fiat, la Fiat 500, entered in production. And it was a great news, because it cost 13 salaries of a normal fabric worker, and so everybody went buying a car, because it was the dream of each Italian citizen. So in 1955, there were about 305,000, no, sorry, 350,000 cars circulating, while in 1964 this number has increased to 5 million cars. So, and in the same year, RAI, which is the
broadcast.
Yeah.
Broadcast.
the Italian broadcast, yes, gave birth to Carosello, which in English is called Carousel, which is really important. It's a show that broadcast every day. Yeah, from the 3rd of January 1957 to the 1st of January 1977. And it was represented by small comic sketches with the purpose of advertise something. In total, there were 7,261 episodes, and it was a feature for each Italian family. In fact, nowadays we still say going to bed after Carosello, because it's in our culture. And I'm finished, so I pass the word to my colleagues.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can take off the mask too.
Hi everybody, I'm Carolina Di from the second I.I.S, and I'm here to talk to you about the main objectives of the European Union, the structure, the aim, and the vote and the parliament. Our group is formed by Sara D'Amati, Giampiero Sanchez, me, Carolina Di e Michela Duci. The teachers are Catarinozzi and Serafin. The European Union have so many objectives. That's not only about the economy or the development, but it's about the society and the human rights. The most important are 7. And the first is to promote the values of peace and the well-being of its citizens. That is very important, because it's a basic point that cannot be excluded. The second is promote sustainable development. The third is fight social exclusion and discrimination. It is the fundamental point about the society, about the discrimination, and all about the human rights. Next, we have the promote scientific and technological progress. And this is about also the society, about the science, about the research of the European Union. Next, we have strengthen the economy and social union and solidarity among the member countries. That is like a second part of the second point. Next, the respect of cultural and linguistic diversity. And establish the economy and monetary union of the members through the adoption of euros as a common currency. This is like a thing that we have all together, and it's one of the basic thing that make the European Union, because we have a value that is like this for all of us, and is more simple for the economy and for the exchanges. Human rights. The European Union is as pays attention about the human rights and about the rights of all the people, and for women, children, minorities, and people that maybe and have difficulties, yes, and it's opposite to the discrimination. Also, it's opposite to the death penalty, the torture, and the human traffic, and yes, they defending civil, political, economy, social, and cultural rights. That is also an important objective. And the partnership is active for all the countries, and also for internal and regional organization, for groups, association and society at the levels of European Union. Inclusion of human rights, clauses in agreements on trade or cooperation with not European Union's countries. So it's not only for the citizen. Yes. The Italian Center for Peace Studies is the Italian structure that most is active about the human rights and the respect of them, also like in all the European units. It plays a fundamental role because they have so many ways to expand the voice and to do the work, like for the internet and web page. They have so many research groups. They publish enough articles, research, interview, and thesis, and the organization of conference about these human rights, and like also the debates and the international law. The dissemination too of the culture of human rights through the media, and also like in all the world, because it's like for a general peace and not like for the European Union. The government. The bodies of the European Union are many, but the most important are the European Parliament, the European Council, and the Council of the European Union. They're not the same things, because they're like two parts of the same body, but in the European Council are the minister and the important person of the council, and the second part is like for the law and for the organization, the European Commission, and then the European Central Bank. The elections. The elections are about selecting who you want to defend your interest in the EU, and it's like for who lives in Europe. And if you live in your home country, you can only vote for the European Union's candidate. But if you lived and are registered in another country of the European Union, you can participate in the elections of your host country and then vote for candidates standing in that country too, not your country that before. And also vote for candidates standing in your home countries, but you not participate of your country. The elections can be vary by country, and normally start on Tuesday and finishes on Sunday. The number of members it depends of the size of the population. There's like a proportion.
According to now.
The European Hunter, if you can put the audio on, because
Yes,
I think
of
that
course.
only is.
Lasciamoglielo un attimo.
This is the melody used to represent the European Union, and it's the Ninth Symphony by Ludwig Beethoven, composed in 1844, when he set music to Ode to Joy, that is its name, and was written by Friedrich von Schiller in the 1785. In the 1962, the Council of Europe chose the stem, and it was adopted by European Union leaders, like the official anthem of Europe. And this express the ideals of freedom, peace, and solidarity. Now I let my
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Daniel Boccella, I'm 15, and now I will talk about the main European Union regulation on ecology, environment, and COVID-19. We are 4 students in this group, Daniele Boccella, Sara Latrash, Irene Cafolla, and Jacopo Cetta, and 2 teachers, Cannata and Ravaggioli. In April 2021, the Council and the European Parliament negotiation reached a provisional political agreement setting into law the objective of climate neutral EU by 2050, the Green Deal, and a collective net greenhouse gas emission reduction target of at least 55% by 2030 compared to 1990. And the provisional agreement in batches are mainly 3, giving priority to emission reduction of removal regarding the 2030 targets and establishing a European Scientific Advisory Board on climate change to provide scientific advice and reporting on EU measures and target and budgets and an intermediate climate target for 2040 to be proposed by the Commission. The Green Deal. The Green Deal is our plan to make the EU economic sustainable, and we can do this turning climate and environment challenge into opportunities and make the transition just and inclusive for all. The European Green Deal provides an action plan to boost the efficient use of resources by moving to a clean, circular economy and restore biodiversity and cut pollution. The plan outlines investments needed and financing tools available. It explains how to ensure a just and inclusive transition. The EU aims to be climate neutral in 2050, and we propose a European climate law to turn this political commitment into a legal obligation. And reaching this target will require action by all sectors of our economy, including investing in environment-friendly technologies, supporting industry to innovate, rolling out cleaner, cheaper and healthier from private and public transport, farming practice, decarbonizing the energy sector, ensuring building are more energy efficient, and working with international partners to improve global environment standards. The air pollution. Air pollution allows cause from 2.1 to 4.21 million deaths each year. In the world, air pollution causes about 7 million deaths every year. In Europe, the emission of many air pollution have decreased sustainable in recent decades, resulting in better air quality in the area And despite this, the problems related to air quality remain, and concentration of pollutants in the atmosphere and still too high. When it comes to environmental pollution, it is inevitable to talk about air pollution, a phenomenon that involves the largest urban center but travels together with the air. Atmospheric pollution is the presence in the Earth's atmosphere of physical, chemical, and biological agents that modify the natural atmospheric characteristic, harming living beings and the environment. Air pollution is caused by the diffusion in the atmosphere of very fine gas and dust. The main source of air pollution are industrial activities, energy production plants, heating system, and traffic, which are all human activities. Pollution, therefore, has mainly anthropogenic causes, according to available studies. 75% of atmospheric pollution is produced by the processing and use of fossil fuels. The most affected areas are large urban areas where industries, traffic, and heating are concentrated. The smog phenomenon is a consequence of atmospheric pollution in the urban center. It is a kind of acid smoke, rich in dust and irritating gases, which in winter acts like a hood in the lower layers of the atmosphere. The greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a phenomenon without which life, as we know it now, will not be possible. This process consists of the warming of the planet due to greenhouse gases, compounds present in the air, carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, etc. Greenhouse gases cause solar radiation to pass through the atmosphere while obstructing the passage to space. They are like lasting greenhouse and favor the regulation and maintenance of the Earth's temperature. The Paris Agreement is an agreement between the member states of the United Nations Framework Conventions on Climate Change regarding the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and finance, starting from the year 2020.
It's really recent.
Yes. The Farm to Fork strategy. In May 2020, the European Commission has published the strategy From Farm to Fork. From Farm to Fork is a plan that aims to change the agri-food system in such a way as to guarantee European citizens access to healthy and sustainable life, minimize the impact of the pollution on the environment and climate. The Farm to Farm strategy is at the heart of the European Green Deal, aiming to make food system fair, healthy, and environmentally friendly. The Farm to Fork strategy aims to accelerate our transition to a sustainable food system that should have a neutral or positive environment impact, help to mitigate climate change and adapt to its impact, reverse the loss of biodiversity, ensure food security, nutrition, and public health, making sure that everyone has access to sufficient, safe nutrition, sustainable food, and preserve the affordability of food while generation fire economy retards, fostering the competitiveness of EU supply sector and promotion fair trade. This is the last slide about coronavirus green digital certificates. During these times of crisis, the EU and its member states are working together to slow down the spread of the virus, reinforce healthcare system, and on 17 March 2021, the Commission adopted a legislative proposal establishing a common framework for a digital green certificate on vaccination, testing and recovery. This EU-wide approach to realize verification and acceptance of a certificate should be exempted from free movement restriction within the EU based on strict compliance with the principle of no discrimination and the full human rights of EU citizens. And the digital version can be stored on a mobile device.
That's all. Sì,
Now I take the
word.
words to Ilaria.
And Ilaria is not here with us physically, but he is connected. So Ilaria Scarsella, I'll let to talk to her.
Good morning to everybody. I'm Ilaria Scarsella and I am 16. And it's nice to see you. I'll present to you the role of Italy in the European community. And in our group, there are 4 students. And are Elena Denisa Risea, Mattia Pellegrino, me, Ilaria Scarsella, and Samuele Sosoi. Then the teacher are Mammoliti and Meliddo. In the first slide, we can see the European Parliament and the Italian representation, where there are 76 Italian deputies of the 9th legislature. Then the President of the European Parliament is chosen from among the members and is David Maria Sassoli. Then the largest assembly has 3 tasks: legislative power, budgetary power, and supervisor and control power. Then in the second one, we can see the European Food Safety and Authority, and it is EFSA. Its role is protect the customer from danger in the food. Then advise the people from the food risk and provide independent advice. Then the main task that EF's performance are collect scientific data, then provide independent and up-to-date scientific advice, and in the end inform the public about the scientific activities carried out. Then in the third, we can see the Mediterranean Sea, and it is an important sea in the world because it's located between 3 continents, and they are Europe, Asia, and Africa. Then in the third slide, we can see the Italy and tourism after COVID-19. The consequence after COVID-19 on the Italian tourism is a reduced tourism in Italy and 50 countries most visited in the world. Then in the last one, we can see the plans to resume tourists after COVID-19. On May 2021, the Italian government has been trying to restriction of the coronavirus. Then from June, in all Italian cities, tourism activities will restart. This was the last one, and we want to say thank you to everyone for your kind attention, and say goodbye from Papareschi School in Rome, in Italy.